Hello, this is Dennis with A1 Telephone Service and Repair, A1 Electronics. You can reach us on the web at www.a1-telephone.com, and you can also reach us at 618-235-6959. Today I want to show you a really cool telephone. This is a Spirit of St. Louis telephone, and this is Steve's telephone from Texas. And Steve's got a note here, speakerphone function does not work. Please check the other functions as well. And then, so basically what we're going to be doing is this is the initial checkout of this telephone. And we're going to go through this telephone and get him straightened out. So, anyway, let's go ahead and ring the telephone. There's a light on this telephone for the ring indicator. You can also turn that light off. Go ahead and answer it, give you some dial tone. We're going to flip through his numbers. I'm going to end in a 2. I'm not sure if that's Steve's personal information, but we're going to cover that up. Let's hit redial. Let that finish out and it'll end in a 2. Let's hit flash. And then the rest is memory and things, and so we're not going to get into all that. We're more worried with the basic functions. Now I'm going to hit speakerphone. And that does not work. It acts like it's coming on, but I can't hear anything. So what we're going to do is, Steve is right, it doesn't seem to have its speakerphone capability. So let's go ahead and unplug the telephone. We'll start taking it apart. These are really sought after telephones. We get a lot of calls on these. We've had many of them in the shop over the years. We're going to go ahead and take this one apart here real quick. And kind of give you a look at the board. Now, this speakerphone in these telephones were okay. They're not battery driven. They're line driven, so there's no power supply that runs a speakerphone. So just like any kind of a speakerphone that is driven by the phone line, they're not quite as powerful as a telephone that would be battery driven or power supply driven, but they will work. And I see that there's some different screws in some of these, so somebody's been in it at one time. We probably want to go ahead and drop this plate here where your line cord plugs in to get that out of our way when we pull the cover off of this, or the bottom plate. And I'm noticing somebody's been into this telephone because the screws are different in different parts of it. So somebody's already looked inside or tried to repair it or has been into it for some reason. This is our plate I was talking about. Now this is the inside of the telephone and what it looks like. And so here's our main PC board. We're going to want to pick that up. Now this board is very difficult to work with, so we're probably going to stop the video and then we'll take a break and be right back with you. But this board is very hard to take out, and I suspect if they took it out, they probably didn't get it in right. It's a very difficult board to deal with. It's just because of the location of the board, and it's actually tucked up underneath the wood here, and so it's kind of hard to deal with because it does have some LEDs that come out of it, and the cords are very short, the lines, so it's kind of hard and difficult to work with. And they don't always come out like you think they would. There's a little bit to it. You have to get them to kind of get over that hump. And that's about as far as that board's going to come up. And now we have to start taking some of the lines loose, or we're never going to get it up and out of this situation here. And we have a ribbon cable on this side, so that's not going to allow us to move it very far. So we have to disconnect everything on this side so that we can flip the board up and see what's going on and troubleshoot everything. So we're going to kind of take a break here, and we'll get back with you real soon, and we'll see how it's going into the process of the repair of this telephone. These are really cool telephones, though, and they're highly collectible, and we do see them from time to time. But we'll be right back. Okay, we're back now, and so we have been in the troubleshooting process, and I want to show you something real quick. We found some bad parts in this telephone, but we still are in the middle of troubleshooting it, and we're at the point now that we're taking a look at the volume control for this speaker. And the variable here is a replacement for the one that's on the board right now, and I want to show you something. We've replaced some other components, but we're at this process now, this stage of it. And if you look at my meter here, I'm going to go ahead and show you on this volume control. If I turn it up, you see how you're getting a reading? Now I'm going to turn it down. I'm going to turn it up. In testing the volume control on the main PC board here, we're not getting anything. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this off here. And I want to turn the telephone on the speakerphone mode. And we still don't have any volume here. You can see where we've seized the analyzer. And this is just some test equipment that I use all the time for audio, capacitors, transistor checker, multimeter. And I want to show you something. If I go across the volume control, so basically what we've done is shorted out the volume control. And so now it's time to take this volume control out and replace it with our replacement. And then we're going to go into, you know, the process, the ongoing process of troubleshooting. Now another thing that you want to take a look at is anytime you do a lot of troubleshooting on this board, you're going to have a lot of problems with it, because we had to actually pull a lot of the wires up for the microphone, the bell, and a whole bunch of other wires, just for the simple fact that you can't lift this board up, and it's a very difficult phone to work on. Always be prepared for this ribbon cable to rip and tear on you. It always does anytime you have any amount of troubleshooting going on. And as you can see here, I've soldered on the back of the board the ribbon cable and split it down, because that's pulling the board back and forth to troubleshoot it, that ribbon cable gives out every time, and it's got too much tension on it, and they didn't give you enough ribbon cable, as you can see, to really work on the telephone, and so they didn't expect you to work on it, and that ribbon cable will always give out. So just be prepared for that if you decide to take on a troubleshooting process with one of these telephones. It's probably not a good idea to work on this telephone if you never have worked on one like this before. There's a lot to it, and you're going to have a lot of obstacles in the way with wires and ribbon cables tearing on you and things like that. So it's probably better left up to someone who repairs this kind of stuff all the time. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and remove that variable here on the board, and it's for the volume control. We're at that part of the process now, and we're going to replace it with our replacement. So we'll take a short break, and we'll get right back to you here. Okay, we're back now, and what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and clean my soldering gun real quick. And we have some of the variable removed. I've got one more solder trace here that I want to take off. So we're going to remove that solder. There's our bad switch, or variable, I mean. So we're going to set that up here. We're going to come in with our new one. We're going to go ahead and install that. Kind of want to get a look at what's going on here. I'm going to fix up one of these traces here. Now I know somebody's been into this telephone and gotten down to this board at some point, because our switches, or our variables for the bell and for the volume control, were not actually in there, the buttons that are the cosmetic buttons on the front panel. And I noticed that somebody had worked, we resoldered this. I'm going to hit another point here. Someone had resoldered them, it looked like, and it actually moved them off the board just a little bit. Now what I want to do is come in here and resolder this. Make sure that stays secured to the board. And that was one of the mistakes that they made when they came in and tried to resolder that. The switch actually, both of them had kind of fallen out of their place where they were supposed to be. But that wasn't the problem anyway. It wasn't a resoldering issue. The variable is actually bad and doesn't have a reading on it. Okay, so now what I want to do is take a look at that real quick. Come down here and touch something up. One of the solder points for something else. Okay. So now what we want to do, now that we've replaced this variable, we want to come and plug our telephone back in. Now these telephones are not powered by any kind of a power supply except for the telephone line. And you want to activate the telephone line by the hook switch here for the handset to kind of energize the board a little bit and get some power running through it. Now what we can do is I'll reach under here and turn it. There we go. Move up the bell ringer. That's the bell for the bell. We're going to get rid of this old switch. We're going to drop it over here. I'm going to turn it off. So now what we can do, is I'm going to go ahead and turn the telephone off like I did, and I'm going to clean this variable and check it for the bell, because at some point we have to put it all back together again. And it looks like they've gotten, now see that's fallen apart too. That variable is going to have to be replaced and repaired. This piece just fell out of that switch. So the variable for the bell is no longer any good either. And that's probably when they put the board back down, they smashed this switch, and now it's all loose. So now that's going to have to be taken care of. So we're going to have to actually remove that. So I can start desoldering that real quick. I'm not sure I'll get it desoldered in a reasonable amount of time, but we want to definitely replace it now. So that's why I like to kind of get this equipment before anybody really gets into them, because what they basically did when they had a volume control problem, they must have suspected that although that's not the only thing that was wrong with it, the variable. We've replaced a cap and a transistor also, but they must have tried to go in and resolder it or do whatever they did, and now it's just kind of causing more work here to have to try to replace now the volume control for the bell ringer. And I know the bell rang, but it was probably stuck in a certain mode, because when I tried to increase the volume, it didn't work either. But then I noticed that the cosmetic button on the other side that this switch fits into, or this variable fits into, it's the knob basically, was loose because it wasn't even on the variable here, and that comes from someone trying to put it back down into place, the board, and not really getting everything squared away and back to normal. So we're going to have to take a short break. We're going to have to locate a variable for the bell now, and this is the variable ring, softer and louder. And so once we locate that, we'll return to the video. So we're going to take a short break. Okay, so we're back and we've located a variable for the ringer, for the bell, and that's the volume control for the bell. I'm going to go ahead and clean my soldering gun, because we want to get this soldered back in. So we're going to kind of work on that right now. Want to get some solder on these legs, make sure that they stay in, so I'm just going to tack them real quick. And then we'll come back and grab them again. Make sure that they're going to go back and forth here. I'll clean up the board a little bit. Trying to grab a couple of spots here that I want to clean up. Now what we can do is, I want to go ahead and maybe set this into a position to where can hook our bell back up. Trying to figure out if we have enough room. Just want to tack that on there real quick. This is just for a test. I want to make sure our hook switch is held down. We're going to go ahead and plug our telephone back in. What I want to do is come in here and turn it up and down. That would be all the way down. And it does increase it. That's all the way down, and I'll work my way up with it. And it does increase it, so we know that variable is working now. And then we'll work on this variable here. Down, up, down, all the way up. Off hook. There we go. So now what we can do is I'm probably going to just go ahead and end the video, and or we might be right back. We have to put this telephone all back together again and do some final checks. So however it works out, we'll be right back. Okay, we're back now, and we've basically finished up mostly putting the board back into the telephone. And so what I also like to do on these telephones is, since this ribbon cable is pretty much of an issue, we like to bring them around and hard solder them to this side of the board so that we can keep an eye on them. We have our microphone back into place, our switch for our light on the bell, and then we have our bell connections back together and our LEDs back where they belong for the speakerphone and telephone and the ring circuit. So now everything's back together again. We also tightened up the bell and repaired some solder on this main PC board. But this ribbon cable, we always like to go on to this side of the board with it so that we can keep an eye on it and we know what's going on. Because when it's up underneath the board and you flip it back and forth, if you're troubleshooting, you'll break that ribbon cable every time. And so that's been the experience with everyone that we've ever worked on. So I'm going to go ahead and flip the telephone over now. And we're going to go ahead and do some final checks with this telephone. We'll go ahead and plug it in and we'll ring the unit. We have our ringer on high. Our speaker volume is about 3/4 of the way up. We have our light on. That might be off. We'll check that. The light is on. That should be off. We'll turn the light back on. Our light came on for our telephone. Give you some dial tone. Now you have to remember that this telephone does not have any batteries. It also does not have any power supply. So everything that's working this telephone, LED-wise or any amplification, is all coming from the line. So although it is a speakerphone, you're only going to get the quality of what your line condition is like. So if you have plenty of voltage on your telephone line or where you're using the phone, depending on your phone company, is going to depend on the quality of how this telephone is going to sound on speakerphone. And there's no other way out of that, just for the simple fact that there are not batteries that run this telephone or a power supply. It's the actual telephone line. So you kind of are dependent upon whatever condition your telephone line is and how much voltage you have on it. What we're going to do is, if you watch the analyzer, we're going to walk through our numbers. I'm going to end in a 2. I'm going to hit the flash button here, because this is the flash. And then I also want to hit redial. So we know that works. I also want to transmit into the handset, so if you watch this red light, every time I transmit into this handset, you can see that's 100% modulation. Hello, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hello, hello. So we know that the telephone is working. We also want to ring the telephone, and I'll turn the bell down all the way, and then I'll turn it up. And that's the same thing with the ringer. Depending on how much ring voltage your telephone line is being sent, that's all the way down and then all the way up. Hit speakerphone, turn it down, turn it all the way up, turn it about halfway. I'm going to end in a 2. Okay, we had to stop the video there for a second, and we took a short break. And so now we're going to get back into finishing up the checkout with this telephone. And I'm going to move the telephone over into a regular telephone line. And I do believe if we turn on the speakerphone, hit memory 2, we're going to have time and temp.
Shop our entire location online anytime at Offenburg.com. Today is Tuesday, January 31st. The time is 10:46. Current temperature 64 degrees. Now the weather forecast for the Belleville area. Mostly cloudy tonight, 30% chance of showers, lows in the mid-40s. Partly cloudy on Wednesday, a high in the upper 50s.
Okay. Let's dial my number. It'll be busy. Dial another number.
Thank you for calling Walmart.
See if they're on break. Must be awful busy.
Mobile Walmart.
Hi, how you doing?
Honey.
Pretty good. Is it raining up there? Oh, okay. Hey, is your deli open?
No.
Okay. Do you guys have any umbrellas left? Because I'm going to come up and get an umbrella.
Yes.
Okay. I'll see you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
How late are you open tonight? Oh. Okay. She didn't hear that, so they're 24 hours. I think they'll be okay.
Good evening. Credit issues? Apply by phone anytime at 622-4600. 622-4600. Same-day approval available. Today is Tuesday, January 31st. The time is 10:49. Current temperature, 64 degrees. Now the weather forecast for the Belleville area. Mostly cloudy tonight, 30% chance of showers, lows in the mid-40s. Partly cloudy on Wednesday, a high in the upper 50s.
Okay. So we know that this telephone works now, and Steve should be happy to be able to use this telephone. And it's just a great telephone. They're highly collectible, and they're really a neat telephone. The Spirit of St. Louis. So it's an aviation field phone is basically what it's built after, but or designed as. So it's just a cool novelty telephone, and it's just nice to see these and be able to work on these and get them taken care of. And we've worked on quite a few in the past, and Steve's going to be probably wanting to use this as soon as possible. But anyway, this is Dennis with A1 Telephone Service and Repair, A1 Electronics. You can reach us on the web at www.a1-telephone.com, and you can also reach us at 618-235-6959. This is Steve's St. Louis, Spirit of the St. Louis telephone, and Steve is from Texas. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.